All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here at the very first Stories from the Heart community language programs from Ready to Revitalize. We are so excited to see you all here today and to have the opportunity to hear from Gibrilla Kamara, the very first speaker in the Stories from the Heart series. So let me introduce who we are hosting this event, as well as a little bit of background on how this series came to be. My name is Anna Ballou. I'm the executive director of the Endangered Languages Project. We are an international nonprofit working to support language revitalization worldwide and bringing people together to strengthen their languages and communities. We run an annual workshop series, an online course every year called Ready to Revitalize. And this is an online project-based learning course for language champions across the globe to develop skills, ideas, and grow their projects in community-based language revitalization. So each year since 2024, we have invited 20 language champions around the world to work with us for 8 weeks to develop a community language revitalization project. And Gibrilla was one of the members of our very first cohort in 2024. So each month for the coming year, we're going to be hearing from a different participant in the past 2 years Ready to Revitalize cohorts about the incredible work they are doing in their communities to sustain and nourish their languages. So thank you all so much for being here today. We hope you'll continue to join us for future events and hear from some of these really incredible folks working for their languages and communities. And without further ado, I want to hand it over to the amazing Gibrilla Kamara, co-founder of the Society for Indigenous Languages, Cultures, and Communities of Sierra Leone. Gibrilla, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much. I'm Gibrilla Kamara from Sierra Leone, founder and director for the Society for Indigenous Languages, Communities and Cultures, SIG, which we founded in 2020. We started in 2018 as underground artists who were not known, but until 2020 when we officially registered it as a community-based organization. So in 2024, I was lucky to be part of the fellows for the Ready to Revitalize. I want to thank the LP team, first of all, for organizing this, wherein we have the opportunity to share our experience in the field, and also to appreciate the training during the Ready to Revitalize. Before I want to start with this. In 2020, a lot of experience because I have been working before, so when we started working with the non, which is severely endangered, two to 300 speakers remaining below who can speak the language. So when I came in as a member of the Ready to Revitalize, with all my experience working with the dominant language, I find it very, very difficult and see how different it is working with dominant language compared to endangered language. But this Ready to Revitalize gave me zeal, and I learned a lot of things. If not, by this time, maybe I would have given up the whole thing about the endangered language and continue with the dominant language. But that training played a very key role in my work. And that motivated me to continue working on endangered language. But I actually see the huge difference between working with dominant language and endangered language. So I was supported by the ELP to develop a language manual. And this language manual, we did the book and we printed copies. You know, after my program with the ELP, because the paramount chief in the chiefdom, in Samu chiefdom where we are working, the paramount chief is a Mani speaker, but he cannot speak the language. But he loved our work so much. And that's another good thing that supports my job, because when the leaders and the authorities, most of them are Mani speakers, but they cannot speak the language, and they were supporting me. They are thinking, okay, we don't want our children to get in without speaking the language, which was very, very good. So I really enjoy doing the work with the community elders. So when we developed the language manual, we printed some copies, and with the support of the Paramount Chief also, we printed more copies we distributed in the primary schools within the chiefdom. And in some primary schools, though we have some challenges of teachers who cannot speak the language, and in some there are teachers who speak the language, which makes it more easier. But the other schools where we don't have teachers, because the community elders, they are all ready to support our work. So sometimes you can talk to them, go to the school, even though they cannot read and write, but they have to bring the kids outside, singing and dancing in the language, they make stories. So that's another way. Sometimes they give them like Wednesdays and Thursdays. They have like 40 to 45 minutes period. They can do that. So we distributed the manual in most of these schools, but because it is not enough to give to each kid, so what the teachers do, they have to collect the material whenever they have the period to teach the Mani language, they give them. Maybe they can have like one class, like class 6. If it is a period for class 6, they can give them. Then after reading, after practicing, then they can collect the books again and keep them in the school. So this is how we'll be managing the situation with the community. But the language work in Samu chiefdom, which I also want people to know, for those who do not have this setting in Sierra Leone, the country is divided into districts, and the district is divided into chiefdom. The chiefdom also can be divided into sections. So Cambia district has initially nine chiefdom. Now we have 10, because one big chiefdom was the amalgamated. So now it is 10 chiefdom. So we are working with Samu chiefdom and Tonko-Limba chiefdom. The Mani language is mostly in Samu chiefdom. And when the Mani arrived in Sierra Leone, they were more of that area in Samu area. But the surrounding ethnic groups, like the Timini ethnic group, the socio-ethnic groups, they later became more popular, the Timini people, because their population become more larger than the Mani people. So the Timini people, they call the Mani language as Bolom. And the Sosos, they call them Mandane. Because the Timni has the highest population, so that nickname they give to the Mani people become more popular. And that's make, even up to now, if you check on the internet, we see Bulom So. But it is not their original name. Their original name is Mani. The Bulom is given by the nearby ethnic group, the Timni. They give them Bulom. And if you go to the internet, you will see something like Bulom So. So the Mani became suppressed by the Timni and the Susu. So sometimes they get, like the land, they get issues with land, they have to break out. Some people have to move to the southeast, and how we got to the Sabro. And that's why they have dialectical variation between the Mani and the Sabro people. So sometimes they understand themselves, but maybe tonations might be different between the Mani and the Sabro. And even when the Sabro move again, that language also become an endangered. While the Mani, because the population reduce again, it also become an endangered. And because of these intermarriages, it also continue to hinder the Mani language. And the Mani language, sometimes if somebody at age of 20 or 25, if you speak a very correct sentence in the Mani, they will say you are very old. So it's like they're referring age by how best you speak the Mani. So when we develop this language manual, and we've been using this in the primary schools, and some community elders have some copies to practice, and we have adult literacy class. And the adult literacy class, we'll be supporting them, at least they're able to read and write in their language. And When they're able to read and write in their language, it can also, because they are totally illiterate, they cannot distinguish between A and Z. So we think it is better if they can speak the language, sooner they're able to pronounce some words. They don't need grammar. They don't need dictionary. Sooner they call the word, they will understand what it means because they understand the language. So it's only when they don't understand the language, so you need somebody to interpret it better. So we've been doing this, but one of the things I learned from the language revitalization is more of you making traps on how the people should able to speak the language. Initially, what I do was I started making coffee hour. We have something what we call attire. It is the English name in it is a green tea. We boil it at night like coffee. So we have to sit in a big circle. So if you want to join us, neither you speak the language or not, but when you come into that circle, you need to make attempt. All what you should be doing to speak the Mani. So that's up. And I learned about this during the training when we talk about language policy. And these are the policy I'm using throughout that topic. And I see how good it is. So you make that trap when everybody, if you want to join us, you have to speak the Mani. Even if you cannot speak it better, but you have to practice speaking the language. And the kids were that everybody want to go there. So if they know that you speak the language and you mistakenly speak another language, you have to buy maybe a cup of sugar or you buy cola nut or they give you a fine just to make you compel you to speak the language during that gathering. So one of my American friend who came to visit, Joshua, and he has been supporting me with the program. We went to Samu. Fortunately, there was a traditional ceremony which they do in the sacred forest. And both of us were so happy to go, only for us to understand that when you go to that forest, you don't have to speak another language. So Joshua was left out instead of going there. But I knew about this thing when I was small because in Samu, where my grandmother came from, and my father is from Tonko Limba, the Limba people. But I knew this before, but for a long time I've not been seeing it again in existence since after the 10 years rebel war in Sierra Leone. So this sacred forest is a place where they do traditional ceremonies. And the purpose of this sacred forest is a means of preserving the language and preserving the forest. But I never knew this until I went there. So when I went there, I understand that it is a compulsory that you don't have to speak another language. And why they say you should not speak another language? Because it is an ancestral thing. And most of these sacred forests can be like 400, 500 acres of land. And those lands are not owned by individual or neither family. It is a communal land. So in the forest, it is highly prohibited if somebody go there to cut a tree or neither hunt animal in that forest. It is a very big policy. And it is also part of the land is used as cemetery. So when they go there for the ceremony, they believe that the ancestors listen to them. And if they are doing the ceremony, they believe that the ancestors will be with them in spirit. So that is the reason why they should not speak another language, because the ancestors were monolingual. They don't speak another language. So if you are going to that forest, you have to speak the Mani language that the ancestors can understand. That is why they have the policy that you should not speak another language. Because if you are speaking another language, the ancestors will not understand you. And they don't want you to put them in doubt, like, what is this man saying? They will not understand. And that is why everybody is mandated to speak the language in the community. And for us, looking at where we can have people speak the language, that is one trap. So I told Joshua, I said, we have got another trap again, where we should able to make the people speak the language. No. So in the forest, the belief of the ceremony is before coming of religion in Africa or Sierra Leone to be specific, they believe in the existence of the supreme being, God, but they don't have a way to communicate with God. So they think in the forest where they have big trees and they always believe the sky is God and the big trees are closer to the sky. So they think if they go to that big tree, whatever they talk, it can reach, message will reach God so fast. So this is why they are going to that forest. So before the planting season, they have to go there to get a very good crops for that year. Sometimes after harvesting, they still go there to do Thanksgiving. But this is another way I observe as indigenous conservation method, how they've been preserving this forest. So because of those policies that nobody should cut a tree there, nobody should hunt animals there, and they've been preserving animals and the trees. So because of this, Joshua and I see it is a very good way we can do. Fortunately, we went to the Limba community. So the Limba communities, the language is not actually an endangered. The reason why we want to improve literacy in it, the Limbas were said to be the first settlers in Sierra Leone, meaning they were the highest populated. After some time, they become the second populated. Later, they become the third populated. And lastly, in the last 2015 census, they were said to be the fourth populated. So this gave us a concern that the language is going down. So in that case, we have to start, instead of it being referred as an endangered language, let's start it earlier. And then we made a Limba storybook, also having like environmental issue, teaching kids about animals we don't have again. At least they can see them in picture and learn about them, making story about their interactions. So we do that book again. We printed copies. And there again, we are supported by the McDermott family, Joshua and his family. They supported us to print some copies we distributed in primary school, because most time we've been working with the primary school because our target is for the kids to learn the language. That can make it more sustainable. So we introduce it in the primary schools, and that area of the Limba community is easier because the language is not an endangered yet. Most of the schools, teachers can speak the language, so it is easy for them to teach. It's just in Samu Chiefdom where we have the Mani language, which is endangered. So we have to find strategies on how we should able to help the kids to learn the language. And we did in Tonkolimba, we witnessed a meeting when the community were trying to have a meeting about similar thing about the sacred forest. So I informed Joshua, he said, oh, we can support them. So he financed them and they did that. But the difference I observed within the two areas was in the Limba area, if you have a conflict, you have an issue with your family or your wife, you have to settle your dispute before going to that forest. And even if at all they couldn't, when they go to that forest, they need to sit aside. They don't need to go where people will be gathering. They need to sit aside where they will have other community elders to settle their issue. And the entire process is just the same about the language policy, don't cut tree, don't hurt animals. Everything is just the same. It's just that kind of peace building I observe within the Limba area. So in the Limba area, I observe three key things: maintaining the language, maintaining the forest, and peace building. No, so this was the additional thing I observed there. So, but the whole process is Joshua and I sat one day say, meaning there is no way somebody can separate see the difference between like the language and the culture, or neither the culture and the land. So all these three things are interwoven. So which means we have to work on these three things. So Joshua has been supporting other communities and the thing has been going because for many years after the war, people have not been doing it again. And the reason also before even the war, when the religions came like Christianity and Islam, because these are the two main religions here, they said, God is not in that forest. God is everywhere, which we all believe, and everybody become Christian or Muslim, whatever. So, but it reduced the respect for the forest. So we start to face deforestation. And another thing we observe, it reduced the strength in which people speak the language, because what I was calling a trap has been reduced because they don't have somewhere they can gather and where they can mandate them to speak the language. So we think these are the things we need to renew again to begin so that the people will start to speak their language and maintain the forest. So Joshua has been supporting other communities now. Joshua and his family, sometimes he requests from his family, they send support. So we've been supporting. But even though up to this point, we still have a lot of requests. People are requesting and they want to do it in their communities, but we will not able to satisfy everybody, but let them get the awareness that it is good to do these things. So we have been doing this. And coming back from the Limba area to Samu again, where is the main focus area, because even with our work, Samu is our priority area because the language is an endangered and we want to work on it. I later discover one small community that doesn't have school, but that is the community where they have younger people who can speak. They speak more of the language in the community. But though it's a hard to go area, but it's a it's a very remote community. It's called Tangbaya, where a lot of people speak the language, where I've been anticipating for language camp, where to bring kids to that community, because that's the language they speak within the community, and it is the only language. I was in Moribaya, which is the headquarters for the section for that area. So I was there when one of my uncle told me about Tangbaya. He said, but going to that place, you have to go through a boat, a canoe boat. So, but I was so eager to go there. We went to the place and everybody was happy to see me when I tell them about it. He said, oh, we speak the language here. Though our kids, sometimes we have to force them, but we have more of speakers here than those communities where you are coming from. And then that's a very good thing. After hearing this from them, I organized a storytelling gathering that was Independence Day in Sierra Leone. Most of these communities, they send representatives to Moribaya. And we have a very big circle under a big cotton tree. And the kids, because that's in my life, not for the provincial area, that is the school, the primary school I see with the highest population, because the surrounding villages doesn't have school. So they have to send their kids to that village. So, and when we talk about the Independence Day, I saw a lot of students, a lot of people, a lot of community elders from nearby villages. They come to that place. And that one was locally funded with my colleagues who've been working with Silk. We contributed. We just like preparing them with food so that we are not able to provide transportation for them, but we try to get them food, at least get food, we manage to return back. So we did a storytelling in a very big circle. Everybody was excited, but the whole thing was we need to have translator because most of the kids there, they will not understand. Otherwise, they would have not been interested. So we need to have a translator that day in that gathering. And then the paramount chief visited, and the paramount chief gave me, how do I say, it's a very good motivation to me that day because it's a very big gathering, embracing my job and telling the community people, wherever you see this man, you need to embrace him. He's doing a very good job. We've been praying. Because actually, the Mani language was documented by George Tucker Tile, who did a very good things. He prepared even primary school materials from class 1, class 2, class 3 upwards. We have a lot. The only challenge we face with those materials, everything is in the internet. And here is a community where maybe in some communities they might only have one or two, or some may not have people with smartphone. I'm not talking about computer. So they find it difficult to access those materials. So we've been thinking of, because they are printable, though some are, I think you need to buy a copy online, but some are printable. We're able to download them, print, and able to bring them also. Because even with the manual we develop, in some schools, the kids can read them. So we think it is good now we have to develop another level also, because like they are familiar with the first one, like we want to develop another level. So I was thinking, instead of developing another level, maybe we check those materials developed by Dr. Tucker Tile and see which one we're going to like find a way to print most of them, let them use it. Because we're looking at a strategy, especially like bringing writers together. But if there is an opportunity to bring writers together, that would be good, something we ourselves develop. Like the manual, the good thing about it, it was developed by the community people themselves. So we sat together. So they feel so proud of that, because they think we did this book, we developed it, we wrote it, everybody was so happy about it. So they always want something they did for themselves, you know. And I learned that from them. And I observed when the paramount chief introduced me this way during that gathering, everybody embraced the job, everybody want to feel belong. So, and that makes me recall how indigenous communities react between the paramount chief and the government. Sometimes when government make policy, they respect it actually, but it is not like when the paramount chief gave policy or community stakeholders. They fear those policies more than what government say. Because the reason, government might not have a representative in that community. So even if they break a law or whatever, nobody to hold them responsible. But when the stakeholders make a policy, or neither the paramount chief make a policy, if you break it, the paramount chief is there, the stakeholders are there. So they fear those policies. So when the paramount chief introduced me this way, I feel so motivated, and I later see how the people, each community you go, oh, the demand for the bullion, that's what they say, because he hardly had the word money. Even the money themselves, they call themselves bullion, you know, because that bullion name become more popular. So they say, hey, demand for bullion. So in some communities, they even, oh, you will not pass today. You will sleep here. You sleep here with us. We need to discuss about the money project. So that's what they do. But I really appreciate one thing again from ELP. Sometimes I can be in the field, I will face some challenges, and I'll start to think, how can I go about this? But the good thing about with the ELP, I can even send WhatsApp to anyone. So they will respond to me. I still remember with Amanda and others. You know, sometimes you feel like you get stuck in the field. What should I do? Then you start to remember. But like anytime I send WhatsApp, you know, you email to anyone, they respond to me, and I use that method, then I can go through. So sometimes ELP team, I think I need to say this, how good it is in the remote communities. You might be there, but you might not know how good it is. But the mentorship is very, very good for us in the field. Because sometimes, like me, as I was saying, I have been working on language programs, but working with endangered language, I've never tried. It is only with the Mani community, Mani language. So I still keep learning. Now I want to say I'm strong in it. I have confidence in it. I can work on it, but we will not stop learning. Learning is a continuous process. I might face a challenge that I think I never faced this. So I still want to encourage the ELP team to understand how good the mentorship is and how it is helping with us in the community. So thank you very much. And I think I want to go above my time, but it's okay. Thank you very much. If there is any question, I can go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gibrilla. And before we go to questions, I'm going to share a really beautiful digital story that Gibrilla about his work and some of the themes he talked about today. So thank you, Gibrilla, and let's go to the digital story, and then we will have time for questions.
Long ago, in the heart of our land, the forests were more than trees and shadows. They were sacred homes of the spirits, places where our ancestors rest in peace beneath the soil. Every forest was a living cemetery, guided by traditions older than memory. Our people spoke only one language then, the tongue of our ancestors. And in those forests, no other language dared to echo. The air itself was wrapped in taboo, and the trees listened to every word. Our ancestors had a way of protecting these sacred places. They did not fence them or post guards. They honored them. Ceremonies, songs, and rituals bounded the people to the forest life. These were our laws, unwritten, but known to every heart. But time changed. New religions came, war came, Western ways of doing things came, and slowly the ceremonies faded. The forests lost their guardians. The language of the ancestors began to fall silent. Now we return. We seek to awaken both the language and the laws that once kept the forest secret. We believe our current tribal leaders still hear the whispers of the ancestors, sometimes in dream. Through them, we can find the stories that we almost lost. We must ask, how were the ceremonies performed? What rules kept the forest holy? These are not just questions of the past. They are keys to our future. For in reviving the tongue of our ancestors, we revive their wisdom. In restoring our indigenous policies, we restore the forests themselves. And when the trees once again hear the old language, perhaps the ancestors will know the people have returned. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gibrilla.
Yeah.
We now have a little bit of time for questions, discussion, words of encouragement. Feel free to drop any questions or thoughts in the chat, or I think we have enough time that if you'd like to ask a question verbally, you can just raise your hand.
Uh, do you hear me? Okay, because my internet is not very stable. Thank you, Gibrilla, for your magic presentation, I would say, because your language really deserves the best words. I would like to discuss two interconnected questions. First of all, as far as I know, there are no children who speak your language. And are there some possibilities to create, for example, some language nests or something like that in order to provide young speakers, because without young speakers, I'm afraid it's a bit difficult to speak about future. And the second question, there are, I read your article, and you said that there are some adults who are proud of their descendants, but still don't speak language. And are there some possibilities to learn language for adults? For example, some manuals, some textbooks, maybe some courses. I don't know. If maybe there is some work in these directions. Thank you.
Yeah, can I go ahead? Thank you very much. And I really appreciate this. And this is what we have been dreaming, and it is always our aim, like getting language nest and language camp, something like that, where we can bring the kids together. And that is why most of our work is with the primary schools, because we think if the kids can speak the language, then the language become more sustainable. You know, the elders, they always see themselves as they were unfortunate because their parents didn't speak the language to them, which lead to the language to become an endangered. So, but they are helping us now for us to do this connection and bring it to their kids now, so that their kids will able to speak the language. But this is actually our aim. We are looking out for opportunity for that, getting language nest for the kids, language camp or whatever. And the last community I discover can be one of the best for we, where I see have a lot of people who speak the language. So maybe if we can do whatever activities in that community, it will be helpful. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gibrilla. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, I see a question from GMU Linguistics.
Yes. Hi, my name is Matt Kelly. I have a question for you about place. I have heard from some folks who work on Indigenous languages in the Americas that a sense of where the language is spoken is actually very important to understanding the language. And so my question for you is if there are parts of the Mani language that would be very difficult to understand if people didn't experience the forest, that's so important in the culture.
Yeah, so when they meet in the forest, even that's the big challenge. Even there are some elders who cannot speak the language, but gathering in the forest, it is not compulsory that you have to speak, but that you should be somebody who is fluent in the language, but you should be practicing, speak the language with others. So you can be an elder of the community, you can go there, but you should be attempting to speak the language, they understand you. But if you have any challenge or like a vocabulary or a phrase, something you don't understand, that day you have opportunity to ask, because sometimes when they live in the community, some might be they feel shy, or they think if I ask how they call this, they will think I'm a small boy or girl, because they always think only older people should speak the language. So if somebody want to ask for a meaning or something in the money, they think they have belittled themselves. So, but within that forest, something like informal, everybody can talk, everybody, they feel free to ask their fellow countrymen, ask them, what is the meaning of this? How is it called in the Mani language? It's just like a day where everybody is free to talk. So that's what they do. Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Gibrilla, is it okay if I have a question too?
Yes, fine. I would love that.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you've seen any change in the way young people feel about or interact with money since you started this work.
That's good. And now, not the time I started working, but as for now, everybody is eager. And then I remember when I went there to develop the language manual, there was an incentive given, and imagine in the remote communities. So now most of the young people say, oh, my friend, they have paid for doing this. It's not like more, but they feel proud of saying we developed this. So everybody wants to see themselves in the picture. Everybody wants to be part of it. So whenever I go to the communities, some of the young guys, they are always with me, especially one of the things they love when I say, today we are going to have a coffee night. And the good thing about the coffee night is some people, even if they want to travel to another village, that they will postpone the trip for the next day. They say, I don't want to miss this coffee night. And some people will even come from nearby village. Actually, it is not something expensive. I can spend like $10 or $15 for that night. It's not something, it's just buying that green tea and sugar, but they just love the fun. So, and this is one of the way I think creating ideas, creating things. Well, usually I call it in the community as trap, creating ways on how you should be able to gather the people just to get that language environment. So when we did this, most of the young people are always with us. And the kids sometimes they will be telling them, go back, you have to go to school tomorrow. Otherwise, because sometimes they will be there up to midnight. And they start thinking of the kids. If you stay here up to this point, you will not be able to go to school tomorrow, because tomorrow morning you'll be sleeping and you'll be late. But the whole thing, everybody, they like it. And now, the awareness is coming up now. Everybody, they are conscious of their language now. Because since I started this, moving with them, discussing with them in meetings, telling them how important it is, because I always tell them, if you allow your language to die, you will lose your identity. You will lose who you are. And they understand this. So that also is another motivation. But one big thing is, I stated that here, the coming of the paramount chief during that gathering of the storytelling, when he talked to them, and that motivated the entire community, and everybody was happy, and they became interested in the language, and they understand why they should not allow their language to die out. So the young people are with me. Sometimes if I want to see this, if I move to going to Samu, maybe because we use motorbike, if I get stuck, if I'm able to get anyone on the phone that I want to go to your community, but the bike or something happen, oh, we send somebody to pick you. They will send somebody to pick me and come to the community. So that tell me how the people are so eager to see me in any community or me to do the language work. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gibrilla.
Yeah.
We have time for a couple more questions, and I'm also going to share the website for Silk in the chat. You check out their work. Just in case folks are feeling shy today, Gibrilla, are you open to people contacting you after this talk if they want to talk more about your work?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I would love that.
All right. Is it okay if I put your
Yes.
email address in the chat?
Okay.
All right. If you'd like to reach out to Gibrilla, here is his email. All right. We're going to call it last call for questions as we're wrapping up. Seeing a lot of supportive comments in the chat. Keep up the amazing work. Your presentation is so inspiring. I love your connection to the forest. Beautiful thoughts. Thanks, everybody. And
Can I ask one more question if you have time?
Yeah.
yeah.
Gibrilla, I would like to ask you a bit general question about Sierra Leone. As far as I know,
Yeah.
English is the only official language, and the national language is Kriya. But
Yeah.
how they are distributed in reality, where is English used, and where is Creole used, and where are other local languages used?
Okay. Thank you. So, first of all, English is more like the official language in office, in schools, where we use English. Creole is the lingual franca. In everywhere you go, if I'm a Mani speaker, you are a Timni speaker, but we don't understand each other, Creole is like 99% of Sierra Leoneans they speak it. So it is the most popular in the city, everywhere. That's the language. So the local language can be within the same community or district or something like chiefdoms, So even within Freetown, you'll be lucky to meet with somebody whom speak the same language with you. But it is not commonly used, unless like the Timni in this part, like in Freetown, the capital city, the northern area, they speak more of Timni. And if you go to the south, like Bo, Kenema, they speak more of Mende. And the Mende is being the highest populated ethnic group in Sierra Leone, seconded by the Timni. So the Timni dominate in the north, and the Mende dominated in the south. So Timni is the northeast, and the south is northwest, and the Mende is the southeast. And within the Timni area where we have the northwest, so we have the Creole, and also the southeast, we also have the Creole. So the Creole is everywhere in the country. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gibrilla. And we
Yeah.
have one more very excellent question from Amanda in the chat. As people's attitudes toward the language have begun to shift and become more positive towards Mani language, have you noticed a change in people's attitudes toward the forest as well?
Say it again. Sorry.
Yeah. So as people's attitudes are becoming more positive towards Mani language, have you also
Mhm.
noticed a change in their attitudes toward the forest?
Yeah, exactly. So there, when these things start to fade out, what the Islam told the people about the forest earlier is, if you go to the sacred forest, if they prepare food in the sacred forest and you eat that food for 40 days, 40 nights, God will not answer your prayer. So that's how they reduce the mindset of the people to push away from that sacred forest. And because now others are like, awareness is coming, people are thinking, it is not going to be like that. I will not pray for 40 days. God refused to answer my prayer. And it is not like that. And so when they started, and we were fortunate there, we also continue to embrace the thing. So it is now like in the communities. And the good thing about it is, when they put a date that we are going to do the sacred ceremony next month, the 10th, from now, some people even practicing the language because they want to be part of that day. Because if you cannot speak anything, you don't know anything, you don't have to go there. Unless if you go with the confidence that with the basics, some might have communicative state, like approach, just like those basic things. I can go, the rest I will land it from there. But that motivates them, and this is why mostly they put dates for a long time. They give time, like the Limba area, they give time to people to able to do, like settle their conflict, whatever they have to do, preparation. And they also have been contributing also, even though we support them, they have to send contribution to the community people. Some may bring like a cup of rice or whatever you can. You can bring a pepper, you can bring onion or whatever. So they have to collect all those contributions to that time. So people will be practicing the language before that day.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Gibrilla.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, just a couple minutes left if there is a last question. All right, well, let's give Gibrilla another warm round of applause. Thank you so much for this brilliant talk, Gibrilla. It was a real pleasure and an honor to learn from you about your work. And
Yeah.
we're so, so glad that you kicked off the Stories from the Heart series. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
your work is incredible. Keep it up. And we hope to see you all next month for another wonderful talk by Netra Mani Rai from Nepal about the Dumi Language Revitalization Project. So join us next month on May 15th. We hope to see you there. Thanks everyone for being here. Everyone be well and take care.
Thank you very much.